Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, we're going over all the VR games, hardware, and accessories that are worth your hard-earned money. From OG VR gamer to those of you testing the waters for the first time, I've got you covered. I have my most recommended VR headsets, games, accessories, a few additional items you might not know you wanted, plus much more. There are of course timestamps and links so you could skip ahead to exactly what you're looking for. But before we jump in, this video is sponsored by Kiwi Design, one of my favorite sites for VR accessories. They recently released some new Quest 2 headphones that promise to pack some extra bass and increase your audio experience. They currently have my favorite Quest 2 Elite strap with battery pack, and there's plenty of other accessories like enhanced controller grips, replacement facial covers, link cables, and much more. There's a link down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support this channel. Okay, so the obvious place to start is with the VR headset itself. At this point in time, the Quest 2 still remains the easiest headset to recommend. It's relatively cheap, starting at $399, and actually as of making this video, there's a special limited time deal where you could get the headset for $350. Plus, it also includes a copy of Resident Evil 4 on top of Beat Saber, which you normally get. The Quest 2 no longer requires you to have a Facebook account. It's simple to set up and jump into a few games, and at this point, there's a pretty huge library of games. Now, if you have an issue with meta, I recommend you look into the Pico 4. Hardware-wise, it's definitely a step up from the Quest 2, and under normal circumstances where there is no sale running, it also comes in a little bit cheaper. Now, the Pico 4 does have some drawbacks though. For starters, it's not on sale in the US, and while many people have had success importing them, it's just not something I recommend. Additionally, their game library is not as robust as the Quest 2, and they don't have any exclusives just yet. And finally, instead of handing your data over to Meta, you're giving it to a Chinese company. So it's basically pick your poison. But as it currently stands, these are the easiest headsets to recommend to new VR players. They are both standalone devices, meaning you open up the box and do not need anything else. The majority of other VR headsets require a gaming PC to run, but there are a few situations where I do recommend some other headsets. For starters, if you're big into simulation games, you might want to look into the HP Reverb G2. It's cheaper than the majority of other PCVR headsets out there, and it has an extremely high resolution display that, unlike those standalone headsets, connects via DisplayPort, so there's no compression artifacts or latency. The drawback on this headset is less than stellar controller tracking, so that's why I recommend it to sim fans who are most likely going to be using a HOTAS or steering wheel, and they want some of the best graphics available. Now, as we move into 2023, the Valve Index is getting harder and harder to recommend. Now, I've personally owned 12 VR headsets, and the Index still remains my favorite, but it's definitely showing its age. But it still somehow manages to be the best all-around package, featuring both an amazing audio and microphone, full hand tracking, a larger than normal field of view, the most accurate tracking in the industry, and the option to easily add full body tracking. So if you fall in love with something like VR chat, this might be the best route to go, or maybe consider getting a used headset, which sounds kind of gross, but it'll save you a lot of money. Now, if you're still on the fence about getting into VR, I recommend you wait a few months. The PlayStation VR 2 is releasing in February of 2023, and it's promising some of the best VR games we've ever seen. Meta is supposedly releasing the Quest 3 in the middle of next year, which is supposedly coming with a significant performance boost, and Valve might even have a replacement to the Index. So there's nothing wrong with holding out a few months and waiting to see what happens. But if you do end up picking up a VR headset, you'll most likely need some accessories, especially if you got the Quest 2. The default head strap on the Quest 2 is quite horrendous, and above all else, I recommend an Elite strap. My sponsor Kiwi Design has an absolutely fantastic one that comes either with or without a battery pack. It's cheaper, more comfortable, and more durable than what Meta has to offer, and that battery pack model can give you an additional 3+ hours of gaming. Now, another highly recommended battery pack comes from Bobo. I personally have not tested their products, but I've heard amazing things, and they include hot swappable batteries, so you can basically play indefinitely. Now, the audio on both the Quest 2 and the Pico 4 is not fantastic and can definitely use an upgrade, and I recommend the Soundcore VR P10 wireless gaming earbuds. Not only are they plug and play with both the Quest 2 and Pico 4, they also have an extremely low latency wireless connection, power pass-through so you could use a battery pack, and they also simultaneously function with Bluetooth so you could connect them to an array of other devices. And my final recommended accessory is for those who travel, and that's obviously a carrying case. Now, I personally use one from Destech because not only is it large enough to fit my headset with the extra battery pack, which some carrying cases can't do, it also allows me to charge the headset without taking it out of the case. Maybe I'm spoiled here and this is a bit overkill, but it's definitely a nice convenience to have. Now that's my most recommended accessories for the Quest 2 and Pico 4, but I already have a massive video on this topic covering all the different VR accessories out there. Now when it comes to PCVR accessories, there's not much to recommend, or they're just very niche. If you have a headset that utilizes base station tracking, like the Valve Index, probably the coolest thing you could add on is full body tracking, but its use case is pretty limited, and this is more for the VR chat superfan or those looking to capture some mixed reality. Your main options for full body tracking include Vive trackers or the Tundra trackers. Now if you're a VR enthusiast or prosumer, I recommend you look into the bHaptics X40 tack suit, which adds full body haptics to the majority of your VR games. It's definitely pricey at $400, but also really cool. Just ends up being hard to justify that price tag, just like the Quest Pro. If money is no object and you want an enhanced Quest 2 experience, well then there's the Quest Pro. It has additional features like face and eye tracking, plus some augmented reality capabilities. The screen clarity and color is a huge step up. The controllers are more accurate, but none of these items are worth the $1,000 plus upcharge. Okay, so let's get into the most important topic for the majority of you guys, and that's the games. I have a million extra lengthy videos on this topic. Now, while it may be easy to just recommend the most popular games, they're definitely not suitable for everyone. Some individuals new to VR cannot just jump into anything, and they need some time to adjust, so here are my recommended starter games. First up is Beat Saber, because it already comes with the Quest 2, and the majority of people will enjoy this title and have absolutely zero discomfort. For the Star Wars fans and those looking for a glimpse of everything VR has to offer, I recommend the Vader Immortal series. Excellent graphics, cool storytelling, motion controls. Overall, it's a solid VR intro. Space Pirate Trainer and Super Hot are really fun shooters. They take about 2 seconds to learn, but are much harder to master. And again, just about anyone who tries them really enjoys them. If you're a fan of mini golf, everyone loves Walkabout Mini Golf. And poker fans should check out the free title Poker Stars VR. Now, none of these games force you to use artificial locomotion, which is the #1 cause of motion sickness. This is when, rather than physically moving in your VR space, you use your controller to move your character. The first few times you do it, it might feel a bit overwhelming. The vast majority of people do adjust over time though, and that's where we could get into the Quest 2 must-play titles. First on the list is the sandbox title Bone Lab. Excellent gunplay, a full physics system, a quirky single-player campaign, downloadable mods, and an extreme level of replayability. Now there's definitely a high motion sickness warning on this one, but most Quest gamers should experience this. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is also another must-play, as it's one of the best single-player campaigns VR has to offer. The combat is brutal, the action is intense, and there's a few morally gray scenarios that may stick with you for a while. Moss Book 1 and 2 is also an amazing experience, as this action-adventure puzzle platformer has you controlling an adorable mouse protagonist and traveling through beautiful environments. I was so not interested in trying this game because I usually only play mature-themed titles, but this easily became one of my favorite VR games ever. Resident Evil 4 is also fantastic, as this 14-year-old title is still amazing to play, and its port into VR was done extremely well. Experiencing the parasite-infected enemies of Resident Evil 4 up close and personal takes this game to a whole new level. If you're a Battle Royale shooter fan, Population 1 is a no-brainer, but if you're not into Battle Royale, they're releasing a sandbox mode this week, so this game will scratch any creative itch you might have. If you prefer your multiplayer games to be co-op, After the Fall is an easy recommendation, as it's basically Left 4 Dead in VR. Plenty of content has been added over time, it's highly addictive, there's a huge amount of replayability, and most importantly, it's just a lot of fun to play. If you rather stick to single player, you have to jump into Iron Man VR. It's a full package game with a high production value, excellent graphics, and mechanics that truly make you feel like the iconic superhero. For me, the game was an absolute dream come true. And if you enjoy tabletop RPGs, Demeo is absolutely fantastic. Now let's move into a list of must-play PCVR titles. Now many of the Quest games mentioned are also available on PCVR and the Pico 4, so if you see them, pick them up on your platform, but these titles are PCVR specific. First up is the Lone Echo series, which is stunningly beautiful, with an equally captivating storyline. Mechanically, it could be a bit simplistic, but floating around space is absolutely amazing, and this story takes some crazy turns. Lone Echo 2 is more of the same, but better in every way. Half-Life Alyx is an absolute must-play title, featuring the fantastic graphics, fast-paced combat, phenomenal storytelling in the beloved Half-Life universe, and a completely unmatched production value. But a close runner-up is the single-player RPG Asgard's Wrath. With a 40-plus hour campaign, storytelling that truly knows how to utilize VR, excellent combat and puzzles, and a large level of variety. This is easily another one of my favorite VR games. And the final PCVR title I recommend you check out is Star Wars Squadrons. If you ever wanted to jump into the cockpit of an iconic Star Wars starfighter, well, now you have the chance. There's a lengthy campaign, highly competitive PvP, some co-op modes, and the graphics in this game truly shine. It's also a title where you could crank the immersion by using a motion simulation chair and a HOTAS. Now, obviously, there are plenty more excellent PCVR games that we could talk about, but I want to focus in on a few hidden gems. There's an amazing 4-person co-op RPG called Legendary Tales, which not only rewards you for playing the way you want to play, but also has a fantastic character building system. Swing your sword a lot and you'll get stronger, cast magic, and those abilities will increase. Then there's a large array of custom skills to choose from, which truly let you specialize your character. And I'll speed up a little bit for the rest of these hidden gems. Compound is a fantastic roguelite retro shooter. It's very addictive and highly replayable, just like the roguelite Melee title Until You Fall. The combat in this game is extremely intense and physically enduring. If you need another roguelite or wave shooter with some additional mechanics, I highly recommend you check out Mother Gunship Forged. You'll be mowing down tons of robots and over-the-top bosses, all while constructing some pretty crazy weapons. Iron God is a really well done tower defense title with fully voice-acted cutscenes, a large upgrade system, lengthy campaign, and just addictive gameplay. Cards and Tankards is a free-to-play trading card game, which I highly recommend. I was never into the whole trading card scene, but I really got hooked into this game, and you really can't beat that price of free. Everslot is an absolutely fantastic roguelite that feels like a combination between Doom and Diablo. The graphics are excellent, the action is intense, and it's full of blood and guts, which I absolutely love. Carnage Chronicles is another amazingly done co-op RPG, but this one you could truly enjoy in single player. It almost plays like two completely separate games. In single player, the combat is strategic and methodical, but when you get in multiplayer, it starts to feel like a hack and slash. Either way, it's extremely fun, with great graphics and amazing worlds to explore. And my final hidden gem is the extra creepy, gothic-themed roguelite In Death Unchained. Travel through the afterlife with bow in hand, battling a large array of creatures. The second you get overconfident, you'll most likely meet your demise. It's an extremely challenging and highly competitive title that's continually releasing more updates. Now, there's actually a ton more hidden gems, but these are some of my personal favorites, and if you're looking for a much longer list of games, I'll include a card to one of my biggest videos. Now, there are a few more niche items that I don't directly outright recommend, but they might help solve a specific issue for you. The first item is a VR gun stock. If you really enjoy first-person shooters, specifically ones that are more realistic like Onward or Pavlov, and you really struggle with your aim, then you might want to look into one of these devices. I've sampled a few from ProTube and Mammoth, and they all feel pretty similar. Now, for some reason, your body just won't adjust to VR and you still suffer from motion sickness, but you still want to play games that feature artificial locomotion, well, then you might want to try the Cyber Shoes. You'll remain seated in a chair that spins, and you'll run your feet on wheeled shoes in order to walk in-game. For some, this helps resolve the motion sickness, while also upping your cardio game and adding a bit of immersion. And finally, we have prescription lens inserts. If you wear glasses and just can't get them to fit inside your VR headset, companies like VR Wave and VR Rock make magnetically attaching prescription lens inserts. For some people, it's an absolute game changer, but you might just want to use contacts or get a smaller pair of glasses. Okay, everybody, that was my VR buyer's guide for 2023. If you have any additional questions, drop them in the comments and I will answer you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Okay, everybody, I'll see you guys on next time.